Ladies and gentlemen, this is Cortez with Balls Not Court Podcast. I am going to be going solo at it today just because NBA playoffs is going to the second round. And me and Kevin will do a show later to recap some of the NFL draft and other things that came out. That was a big event this Friday. Or you got to watch it Thursday evening or late evening. The Avengers, I'm sure Kevin want to talk about that. So anyways, I'll go ahead and get into it. This is where the real fun begins. Honestly, the games are still not even complete for the first round. There is still one more series to be completed between the Spurs and the Nuggets. So I'm just going to go ahead and just give a hypothetical just in case who Portland will have to face. So I just kind of cover both teams versus them coming up in here and give a little preview into that. So this is where the real fun begins. And we kind of weed out the teams that was glad to get there, the pretenders. I don't even call pretenders, whatnot. But really, you separate the teams that are really in contention. That's the teams that are not there yet or whatnot, whatever you want to call it. So contenders versus pretenders, if you want to say that, that's fine. But you already know that some of these matchups that we had in the first round were either lopsided, injuries that happened to lower seed teams. So pretty much the only one series I really kind of predicted beforehand was the one that's kind of going 7 now between the Spurs and the Nuggets. So Nuggets U versus Spurs experience. You figure Spurs will make it a ball fight. So anyways, we'll move forward and go with the first series. In the East, you got the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Boston Celtics. How they got here is Milwaukee ended up sweeping Detroit. Pretty much Blake Griffin came in to try to play the last few games, had a bum knee, so he really didn't get the clear picture of that. But honestly, Milwaukee, as I said in the last podcast, ended up sweeping them pretty bad, or they sweeped them in the regular season too. So no surprise here. It was mostly blowouts in these games, except the last one that Detroit kind of put up a little bit of a fight. But besides that, that's how they got here. The Celtics, they faced an Indiana team without Victor Oladipo, and that ended the sweep. So this series was deceptively competitive over the games, over 3 of the games that were played. So it was within 5 points within the last 5 minutes. So, and then the Celtics ended up showing at halftime 3 of the 4 games and ended up outscoring the Pacers by 21 points in the second half. So that series there concluded there. So we'll see how they look back with Victor. But once again, you got to give credit to Nate McMillan for doing a heck of a job. What he had shorthanded, but you can just tell that Victor Oladipo was missing. They really keyed on Bogdanovich and Miles Turner and all these other guys that they have there that was having spectacular seasons for the Pacers. So we'll get on and start talking about the series itself here. So you pull this up here, the series matchup, the regular season matchup. Bucks won 2-1. They played November 1st. Celtics ended up winning that 117-113. The 21st of December, you had the Bucks that won 120-107. And then the latest game they played in February, the Bucks ended up beating the Celtics by 1 point. So some notes that you make that is that one of the matchups, Mirotic, that was added in the trade deadline, he was only there for the third meeting. Aaron Baines, and there was a few injuries here during this series matchup. Aaron Baines didn't play the Celtic wins, and he missed the 2 losses. So Jaylen Brown missed the first game And then Gordon Hayward missed the third game. So there was a few injuries that the Celtics had and the Bucks had here. But one thing that I did recognize here is that the Bucks in the November 1st game, they outscored them in the paint 62-22. But then you turn around here and the Celtics won the November 1st game with a franchise record of 24 3-pointers. So it's really just going to be a battle between these two teams, whoever's going to score out in the perimeter versus the paint. And we know how good they had with Giannis going into the paint, be able to collapse some of his defenders. You've seen it. If you watch basketball with this guy, he collapsed all his defenders to the paint and it opened up their shooters for Middleton and Bledsoe driving lanes, and Brook Lopez able to shoot threes and spread it out and be the big man that spread out on the floor with 5. They also have a really good bench as well. Brogdon is still hurt, but they still have a really good team that the Bucks have. It all goes with Giannis here. On the flip side, I know Kyrie and his squad was going through some ups and downs. It seemed like this Celtic team all year has been noted for that they're not having fun with one another. There's been a little bit of turmoil. There's been rumors about Kyrie impending free agency this offseason. So there's a lot of distractions in the Boston Celtics locker room. But nonetheless, they did make it to the second round. They do form a really good opponent for the Milwaukee Bucks. And this was the year that a lot of people picked Boston to come out the East. But here they are as the 4th seed, struggling. To what we thought they would be compared to what they are. They're still a really good basketball club, but this is going to be a real fun series to watch. I like Celtics wings to kind of give Giannis a little bit of a fist, but that's an easier task said and done. Marcus Smart, I believe he's supposed to come back. I'm not sure, but I know he was out with an oblique injury that he suffered in the regular season. So at the end of the regular season, that injury happened. But if you get him back, you get him to throw another body at the guards and potentially another defender that can be a little physical with a Kennekunto. But it's task easier said than done. So my prediction for this series, I'm gonna go with the Bucks in 6. I'm just worried about like I mentioned earlier, about the distraction that's going on in the Boston Celtics locker room. They did come and handle a gimpy Indiana Pacers team, but I'm still kind of worried about them. And plus, with the 3-point shooting in the playoffs, as opposed to getting to the rim, you got the high percentage shots that I'm just kind of taking a shot with there. But this guy who's an MVP candidate, I'm gonna pick in his corner, and he'll get his team to advance to get a berth in the Eastern Conference Finals. So in that retrospect, I'm going Bucks in 6. All right, this next matchup will feature 2 of the teams out of the Atlantic Division. I remember there was a couple of seasons ago where you looked at this division and it was probably one of the worst divisions in basketball, but now how times turn, because now you got 2 teams that's really vying for a spot for the Eastern Conference Finals. So you got the number 2 seeded Toronto Raptors versus the number 3 seeded Philadelphia 76ers. How they got here, Toronto defeated Orlando in 5 games, and Philadelphia defeated Brooklyn in 5 games. The regular season matchup that you had was Raptors won the series 3-1. On October 30th, Raptors beat them 129-112. December 5th, the Raptors won again 113-102. At Philly, on December 22nd, the Sixers beat the Raptors 126-101. February 5th, you got the Raptors that won. The Raptors won 119-107. Their pace during the regular season about 105 possessions, and Toronto offensive ratings at 109, and Philly was at 106. Strangely enough, all these 4 games took place before all the trades happened with the Raptors and the Sixers. As you know, the Raptors traded for Marc Gasol, and the Sixers trade for Tobias Harris, and also the first meeting took place before Philly trade for Jimmy Butler. So a lot of moves happened with particular in Philly with this whole roster, with Elton Brand going all in and getting the Tobias Harris and Jimmy Butler and going for additional pieces to kind of add to the bench that was looked in the first place. Bill, it's still a little thin, but they added some pieces as far as like I know they added who they added. I know they added the guy from Mike Scott. They added Mike Scott. They added Boban and Jonathan Simmons, and then I'm trying to think of the Houston fella they added too, and his name was on the top of my tongue, but I can't remember. But Ennis, that's his name. Yeah, Ennis. Anyways, they did try to add to their bench there, and they still have arguably probably the best starting five in Philadelphia. They do. A lot of criticism was coming Ben Simmons' way. He did struggle a little bit against the Brooklyn Nets, and then he came through and actually had a really good closing to the series, and they ended up closing the Brooklyn Nets. So, as you know, when it comes with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, there's a lot of people that question their maturity and things that happen with Joel Embiid. I guess he made a joke about, fouling Jared Allen, and then the next game after that, he made a joke about not blowing the lead like the Golden State Warriors did, and they started laughing in front of the media. So, and of course, Joel, usually I'm not this humble. So, Philly is one of those teams that, pretty much, if you're not a fan of, they kind of irritate you with their antics. But nonetheless, they're a really good ball club, and we'll see what they got up. But they do start the series tonight at 7:30, and the Sixers did lose 13 straight, in Toronto. So it'll be interesting to see how that matchup works. So the matchup I'm gonna watch is Marc Gasol versus Joel Embiid, because Joel Embiid is having the knee injuries that he's been battling. He stated that he's going to play more minutes that he did last series against the Nets, against Marc Gasol. Marc Gasol is a former Defensive Player of the Year. He did a heck of a job on a really nice prize young center, Nick Vucevic. Really kind of shut him down and was limiting him to do a lot of things that got him comfortable. So Joel Embiid is a center that's way more talented than Vucevic. Not to disrespect Vucevic, but Joel Embiid is really, really, really good. But like I said, Marc Gasol is good enough to put the body on him and get him out his spots just like he did with Vuce. So that's gonna be a fun thing to watch there, because a lot of their offense run through Joel Embiid. They do a lot of motion offense with him, and I do know when Joel Embiid used to have a good game, the shooter and J.J. Redick used to have a pretty solid game for him to get the spacing. Got a lot of wings, like I mentioned, with Tobias Harris and Jimmy Butler. So, but on the flip side too, with Toronto, they also have a lot of wings that's got a lot of length, and Kawhi Leonard and Pascal Siakam. So their front court is really good defensively. So this is a really good offensive team in Philadelphia that's going to really, really good team defensively against Toronto. So Kyle Lowry is probably going up playing Ben Simmons because of the whole, at least on defense, because the whole shooting thing. Ben Simmons is, if you watch the game, Ben Simmons is not really the best shooter in the world, but he's one of the guys that can create and distribute for his teammates. So we'll see how that matchup is going to play. So this is going to be a really fun matchup here. Both teams are very physical. They get into each other. Danny Green is a nice little piece that came over from that trade as well. The Raptors got a deeper bench than the 76ers. So